The H-1B lottery registration season is just around the window. It opens on Friday, March 7th, and that's what we're talking about on today's Live at Lunch. My name is Emily Sumner with Sumner Immigration Law, and again, we're talking about the H-1B registration window that opens very soon at a computer near you. So I am glad that you are joining us, whether you're joining us live or if you're catching the replay. If you have questions about the topic that we're talking about today, put those questions in the comments and I will answer them either live or I'll come back and answer them. I'm happy to do that. Or if you have questions about another immigration related topic, I'm happy to attempt to answer those questions. Of course, none of this is legal advice. I can't give legal advice in this forum. So let's get started. The H-1B registration window is about to open. So first of all, what is the H-1B lottery? We'll be talking about what is the lottery, what are some key dates, what is the outcome of the lottery and what you do next, and then we'll wrap up with a couple of success stories from our clients. So the H-1B lottery is a lottery, as the name implies. It is for the H-1B visa classification. So there is a limited number of new H-1Bs available every year, specifically 65,000 plus an additional 20,000 for US master's degree holders. So there's that limit, and so many people want a new H-1B every year. So many employers and foreign nationals want a new H-1B every year, that there is a lottery. The way that this lottery process works is the employer, so this session, of course, is designed for employers, for HR individuals, and for foreign nationals, but the employer registers the foreign national, usually with the help of an immigration attorney. We help our clients with this every year. We're doing that now. So the employer will register the foreign national in the H-1B lottery. You do that through a portal, the USCIS online portal. You have to have a USCIS account. We can walk you through all of that. The information that we use or the USCIS requires to register, to create this registration, is pretty basic. It's some information about the employer, some information about the employee. We also ask for additional information about the position, about the employee's background, because we want to make sure that they're actually qualified for an H-1B. We don't want to register someone for the H-1B lottery if it's not an H-1B position, which means a position that requires a minimum of a bachelor's degree in a specific field of study. My point is the information that's required is pretty basic just to register. So we work with employers, we walk employers through step-by-step, and employees for our national step-by-step, the exact process to register. The people that don't need to worry about the H-1B lottery are people who have already been counted against the H-1B cap. So if you are an employer or an HR person, HR manager, for example, and you have employees working for you in H-1B status, if they need to file an extension down the road, let's say they need to file an extension before September of this year, that's totally fine. They're not subject to the H-1B lottery if they have already been counted against the H-1B lottery. There are certain organizations that are cap exempt that we'll talk about in a separate video. But just know that the H-1B lottery does not generally apply to H-1B transfers, extensions, amendments. It's just for individuals who have never held H-1B status before. So when you are thinking about who you need to register in the H-1B lottery, again, if you are an employer, a business owner, an HR manager, you want to be thinking about those individuals who are working for you currently, who hold OPT or STEM OPT. Even if they hold STEM OPT and they have another 1 or 2 or possibly even 3 years on OPT, if I were an employer of a person in this situation, I would consider registering them as soon as possible for the H-1B lottery. In other words, not waiting until year 2 or 3, because the chance of being selected in the lottery, of course, depends on the number of registrations, but the past couple of years, it's been about 26%. So you don't necessarily want to wait until year 2 or 3 to start that registration process. It's a good idea to start ahead of time if you're able to. I know there are other practical considerations. There's budget, is this person going to stay long-term? Are they a good fit for us, and vice versa, that type of thing. But from an immigration perspective, I recommend registering often and early, as you can. So, and when I say early as you can, I mean like the first year that you're available, that you're eligible to. So anyway, you think about individuals that are on OPT, STEM OPT, perhaps individuals who are on other visa classifications that are work authorized, who may want to transition to H-1B status. So for example, every year we have individuals that are working on the H-4 EAD. That is a dependent of an H-1B, so a spouse of an H-1B. Or L2 EAD holders, sometimes E2 EAD holders. EAD stands for Employment Authorization Document. Every year we have individuals who are not necessarily dependents of their spouses, but they are working for the employer in other visa classifications like the TN or the H-1B one. And the employer wants to register them in the H-1B lottery so that they can more easily transition to the green card to permanent residence down the road. So those are the types of employees that you should be thinking of. Other types of individuals that you may want to register may not be working for you right now. They may be living overseas. They may be working with you as a contractor, or they may not be working with you at all, but you know that they're a great candidate. They would be a great addition to your team, and you want to go ahead and register them in the H-1B lottery. So let's turn now to key dates. The key dates, it is not too late to register in the H-1B lottery. The window has not opened yet, but you should act now if you have not already. So get that list together, make sure that you have coordinated with your immigration lawyer so that they know exactly who you need to register. On our end, we are finalizing all of that information so that we're ready to go and ready to register. So the key dates is that the registration opens on Friday, March 7th. That is in just a few days. It's just around the corner. The registration period ends, the window ends on March 24th. Sometimes there is a situation where registration doesn't go quite as smoothly as anticipated, meaning there's some sort of glitch with the USCIS system. For that reason, in our practice, we do not register individuals the first day or so that the window opens. There is no advantage or disadvantage to having your registration submitted on March 7th versus March 20th or 15th or whatever the date is, as long as that window is open and your registration is completed correctly, then you are considered entered into the lottery, and your chance of being selected is just as strong as somebody who was entered at the beginning, right when the window first opened, or at the very last minute. So in our practice, we like to wait a day or two to let the system work out any wrinkles that it might have. And we also do not want to wait until the last day. That is incredibly stressful for everyone involved. Inevitably, there is going to be some sort of glitch at the end of the process as well. So I remember last year, can't remember exactly what the issue was, but there was some reason something happened and they actually extended the registration window a day or two to allow people to complete registrations. That may or may not happen this year, but my point is we want to take a deep breath, remain calm, and not rush into it unnecessarily, but also not wait until the last minute either. So the last day, as I said, is March 24th. The selection, the actual lottery is conducted at the end of March. They don't give us a specific date. It will be conducted before the end of March. I got stuck for a minute. So the registration is conducted at the end, or the selection rather is done at the end of March. When the selection is done at the end of March, we will receive an email. When I say we, I mean the immigration lawyer and the employer should receive an email saying that X case is selected. When I say case, I mean registration, and that is specific to the individual employee. So if you are an employer and you know that you need to register 5 individuals in the H-1B lottery, that's great, but you need to identify those 5 individuals. You can't just say, oh, I know I'm going to need 5 H-1B workers. It's not how it works. You have to identify the people as we register them in the H-1B lottery. So when the lottery is done at the end of March, we are notified. Our practice within Sumner immigration law is to notify the employer, even though they should get the email as well. We notify the employer to say, this particular person was selected in the lottery. Congratulations. Please confirm that you want to move forward. So we communicate that information directly to the employer rather than with the employee. When the registration, or rather when the selection is done, it is not, I mentioned when I was talking about numbers, I said that there is a limit of 65,000 plus an additional 25,000 for US master's degree holders or higher. The USCIS does the lottery all at once. So they don't run the lottery and then say, okay, we've done the lottery for the 65,000 and these individuals are selected. And if you weren't selected yet, then hold on, we're going to do the master's degree lottery in a day or two or whenever it is. They do it all at once and they make the announcement all at once. And the notice, the selection notice, will indicate whether you were selected under the regular, the 65,000 or the US master's degree cap, but it's not two separate events. So if you were not selected by the end, if you haven't received notice that you were selected by the end of March, then I'm not saying give up hope. There may be a second round of the lottery, but don't wait around and think, oh, well, maybe I'll be selected in the US Masters cap. That's already been done by the end of March. So by the end of March, we have the selections. The filing window is between April 1st and June 30th. We have a 90-day window to file those H-1B petitions for the individuals that were selected. If you have a situation where you are working on OPT or STEM OPT and that OPT will end before October 1st. So October 1st is the first date that a person can possibly begin working in H-1B status. The petition has to be approved before then, and it may or may not be, depending on the timing of everything. But if you or your employees in a situation where your OPT will end, let's say, I'm just making this up, by July 1st or on July 1st, there's something called the H-1B gap. It's a regulatory provision that will allow the H-1B to be extended, not the H-1B, the work authorization, the employment authorization document to be extended until the following year. So it will cover that gap, in other words. So that's amazing. I love this provision of the regulations. So just know, we can talk about it in more detail, but just know that if you're in that situation where your OPT is ending, and if you're selected in the lottery, there's certain requirements you have to meet, of course. If you're selected in the lottery, if you file the H-1B petition before the OPT ends and you request change of status, then you are eligible for H-1B gap. So our next kind of topic here is success stories. Before we turn to that, I want to say a couple of things. One is that this is a lot. It's a process, right, that we go through, the registration process. We are here to walk you through the process as employers, as foreign nationals, as employees, as H-1B holder want-to-bes. We are here to walk you through the process step by step. It is a lot of information. There's some technicalities that we have to address, but we have a lot of experience with that, and we're here to help you walk through that. It is not too late. Today is March 4th. It is not too late to initiate the process if you haven't already, but you need to do it as soon as possible because the window does open on March 7th and it closes on March 24th. So you want to act sooner rather than later. The other thing to keep in mind is this process, if you are one of our clients or are thinking of filing an immigration filing that is not an H-1B, this process is, we have a team of people dedicated to it. Yes, it's a lot, but it's not the same. It's not the same amount of work and time and energy and stress and pressure and sleepless nights as it was before this registration process. So know that if you have an extension coming up where you need to file an amended petition, or if you have some other immigration matter that you need help with, we're here to help you with that as well. This is not a situation where we're only doing H-1B registrations for the next couple of weeks. That's not the case at all. So we have a good number of them, and we're happy to help you. But it's not a situation where we're overloaded and can't focus on other things because they changed the way that the registration is done. Previously, we had to submit an entire petition to USCIS, and for a period of about 6 or 8 weeks, that was all that we did was H-1B petitions because we had to submit the entire thing. Anyway, that system changed in 2020. So let's turn now to a couple of success stories. This process can be stressful, especially for employers or employees where they are at the end, coming up to the end of their OPT, and they're not sure what they're going to do right at the end of their OPT if they're not selected. So of course, Isabel asked a question, and that's a great question. I'll talk about that in just a minute. Of course, it's possible that if you're registered in the lottery that you are going to be selected. The chance of being selected in the lottery, of course, depends on how many registrants there are, how many people are registered in the lottery. The past 2 years, the chance of being selected has been about 26%. And that has been across rounds 1 and 2. So it's not guaranteed that we're going to have 2 rounds of the lottery. Definitely we're going to have this round right at the end of March, but if USCIS at the end of June, they will assess how many petitions they've received. If they have not received enough petitions to meet those 85,000 slots in their estimation, then they will conduct a second lottery. That typically, if it happens typically in July, typically mid to late July. That did happen the past 2 years. It may or may not happen this year. It just totally depends, and your chance of being selected depends on the number of registrations. Anyway, every year we have people selected in the lottery. Fantastic. We're so happy for them. Every year also, we of course have individuals that were not selected in the lottery. We will have a whole series of lives at lunch about alternatives to the H-1B. There are options out there. There is hope. Absolutely. So we'll have conversations about that. But there are 2 things that I want to tell you. One is kind of success stories. One is super quick, just that we have had individuals who have registered for the lottery once, twice, 3 times, and then the 3rd year they're selected in the lottery. There's not a guarantee by any means. We've also had people who have registered 3 years in a row and have not been selected in the lottery. But that's why I said before to register as often and as early as you can, because if you start and let's say that first year of OPT or whatever your situation is, the more often you register, the more chances you have, right, of being selected in the lottery. So we have had people last year, I think we had 3 people that were the 3rd time they were registering in the lottery for the 3rd time. And it was actually the 2nd round of the lottery that they were selected. It was very exciting for everyone involved. So keep the hope alive, keep the faith alive. If you're not selected on the 1st round, there could be, like I said, an additional round, or keep going. And, we even have people who move overseas temporarily and then return an H-1B, which leads me to my second success story. Every year we have a number of clients, meaning for our national employees of our clients who are not selected in the H-1B lottery. And we have conversations about next steps and alternatives. Sometimes there's a different alternative, like for example, maybe the O1. It's not for everyone. It's not easy to get. But that's, an example. Or they stay in TN status or H-1B1 status, or, there are different options depending on your particular situation. However, every year we have individuals who just don't have another option to stay in the United States, but they're a really great fit for their employer. Their employer is really invested in them and vice versa. And they start the green card process. This is not a great solution. It's not a short-term solution. It's not for the, individuals who want an instantaneous solution, right? Even if you were born in not India or China, and we'll talk about that in a minute, it's going to take probably several years, right, from the time you start the process to the time you're able to enter the United States, but it can be a solution. So every year we have individuals who start the green card process through their employer because they're committed to the process and they know ultimately they want to work together. So we have individuals who start that process and who subsequently register in the lottery every year. So for example, last year, one of the individuals that I was telling you about who was selected at the 2nd round of the lottery, it was her 3rd time entering the lottery, 3rd year in a row. And her employer started the employment-based green card process 3 years ago. And she's not to the end. She's near-ish the end. But she's in such a great place now because she was selected in the lottery and she is well into her green card process. And she's in the United States working. She is much further along to getting her green card than she would have been if she and the employer had been like, well, wasn't selected in the lottery. That's the end of it. I'm just going to give up. And I'm not saying that route is for everyone. There are different factors to consider, including your country of birth. So if you were born in India or to a certain extent China, the wait for the green card is going to be a lot longer, and it's probably not going to be a realistic solution, even longer term. If you have questions about that, we can have a separate video about that or chat about it. But that is a solution, depending on your particular situation, to go ahead and start the green card process. And I have other success stories as well that have different situations that we can talk about. But my point is, do what you can, take a deep breath, stay as calm as you can. We're here to help you. And there is a solution. There's always hope. So Isabel asked a great question, and this is one that I answer every year. So it's a very common question, a very good question. She says, I've always wondered, how does USCIS choose the people who get the lottery? It is a random selection, as best we know. It is a random selection. So it is done by computer. The selection, as of last year, this change began last year, the selection is made based on the individual's passport number. So that means if Isabel, for example, has her employer register her in the H-1B lottery and her passport number is selected, then her employer can file the H-1B petition for her. That means that Isabel, for example, to use you as an example, could register through multiple employers. So if she had 3 different job offers, 3 different US employers willing to sponsor her, to register her in the H-1B lottery, she could have each of those 3 employers register her in the H-1B lottery. If her passport number is selected, then she could choose to file have the H-1B petition filed by any one of those 3 employers, or potentially all 3 or 2 of the 3. But she has that choice of which job offer to take and which employer to have file the H-1B petition for her. So the selection is made based on the individual's passport number. It is not made on any sort of analysis of the case. So we don't even send information in about what is the job title, what is the salary, what is the standard occupational code, what are the person's, we look at the person's degrees. Like I said, we look at their, whether they have a master's degree or higher, US master's degree or higher, or a bachelor's. That's important for which, for the registration purposes. But aside from the registering a person in making sure that we're registering them in the regular cap, the 65,000 versus the US master's or higher cap, there is no difference. USCIS does not look at education. So they don't look at a registration and say, oh, we really need school teachers in the United States, so we're going to select this person. Or this person has an aerospace engineering degree from MIT, so we're going to select that person instead of this person that has a degree in education from this other university. None of that. It's all done randomly and by passport number. So I hope that's helpful. So I hope that you found this information helpful. If so, I hope you will share this video with a colleague or a friend, and make sure that you subscribe to this channel so you don't miss our next videos. There are some other changes that have come about in immigration law, nothing too crazy. There's a lot of information out there. Anyway, we're going to have some additional information out this week, especially on my LinkedIn page, so make sure to check that. Otherwise, I hope that you will join us next week. Subscribe to this channel so you don't miss our next video. If you need help with an H-1B registration situation, with registration or with another employment-based or family-based immigration matter, feel free to contact us. We are here to help. We have information after this video ends about how to contact us. Otherwise, I hope to see you again soon. My name is Emily Sumner with Sumner Immigration Law, serving clients throughout the United States and from around the world with employment-based and family-based immigration matters. Until next time.